When Olivia Bennett's mother died, Olivia expected to inherit nothing. She was wrong. She inherited $7.43. That's all the will appeared to contain. No house, no jewelry, no savings. Just a bank account with a balance so small that Olivia initially thought there had been a mistake. At the lawyer's office, her uncle actually laughed when he heard the amount. $7, he said. Your mother really left you a fortune. The others laughed too. Olivia didn't. She stared at the document in front of her, because beneath the account number was a handwritten note in her mother's familiar handwriting. Go to the bank. Olivia hadn't spoken to her mother properly in almost 4 years. Their relationship had become complicated long before the illness. There had been arguments, long silences, questions her mother refused to answer, and one sentence Olivia remembered hearing throughout her childhood. One day, you'll understand. Olivia had hated those words. After her mother's death, she hated them even more. 3 days later, she drove to the bank. It was an old branch downtown, the same place where her mother had apparently maintained the account for 26 years. Olivia walked to the counter and handed the employee the document. I need to close this account. The employee entered the account number, then suddenly stopped typing. She looked at Olivia, then at the screen. Is this your mother's account? Yes. The woman hesitated. I think our manager needs to speak with you. A few minutes later, an older man named Daniel Harris approached. He looked at the document without saying anything. Then he looked at Olivia. Your mother was very specific about this account. Olivia frowned. About what? Daniel sat down. She told us that after her death, you would come here. Olivia felt a strange chill. When? She gave us the instructions 26 years ago. Olivia stared at him. 26 years. That was when she had been 5 years old. Daniel opened an old file. This account was opened shortly after your mother left town for several months. Olivia's expression changed. My mother never told me she left town. Daniel continued. She made small deposits almost every month. $5, $10, sometimes $20. Why? We don't know. Then where did the money go? Your mother would withdraw it periodically. Olivia shook her head. So there really is nothing in the account? Not exactly. Daniel reached into a drawer. He placed a small brass key on the desk. Olivia immediately recognized it. She had seen that key when she was a child. Her mother used to keep it inside a small wooden box. What is that? Your mother told us to give it to you. Olivia picked it up. Daniel lowered his voice. It opened Safety Deposit Box 317. Olivia's heart began pounding. What's inside? I've never opened it. Why not? Because your mother instructed us not to. Daniel stood. Olivia followed him into the bank's vault. The massive steel door opened, revealing rows of numbered boxes. Daniel stopped at 317. He inserted the brass key. Click. The box opened. Inside were dozens of envelopes tied with a faded blue ribbon. Every envelope had Olivia's name on it. She touched the first one. There was another detail that stopped her. The dates. The first letter had been written 26 years earlier. The last had been written only 2 weeks before her mother's death. Olivia looked at Daniel. Why would she do this? Daniel didn't answer. Olivia opened the first envelope. Her mother's handwriting filled the page. Dear Olivia, if you are reading this, then I am finally gone. Olivia's eyes immediately filled with tears. She continued, I know you believe I abandoned you. I know you believe I chose a life without you. But that is not what happened. Olivia stopped reading. For years, she had believed exactly that. Her mother had disappeared for months when Olivia was 5. When she returned, everything had changed. She became distant, protective, secretive, and whenever Olivia asked why, her mother refused to explain. Olivia looked back at the letter. The next sentence was even harder to read. I left because someone close to us was trying to take something that belonged to you. Olivia's hands began trembling. Something that belonged to her? She kept reading. I couldn't tell you when you were young because the truth would have put you in danger. Then came a name. Richard. Olivia froze. Richard was her uncle, the same uncle who had laughed at the $7 inheritance. She read the next paragraph. Your uncle knows about the account. He doesn't know about the box, and he must never know what is inside it. Olivia looked toward Daniel. Did my uncle ever come here? Daniel's face became serious. Twice. When? Once last month. Olivia's stomach dropped. And the second time? Daniel looked at the letters. Yesterday. Olivia suddenly understood why her mother had told her to come to the bank. This wasn't an inheritance. It was a message. A message her mother had spent 26 years preparing. Olivia picked up the next envelope. Before opening it, she noticed something written across the back. There was only one sentence. If Richard ever asks you about the old house, do not trust him. Olivia slowly looked up, because there was something she had never told anyone. Richard had called her that morning, and the first thing he had asked was, have you decided what you're going to do with your mother's house? Olivia didn't answer Richard's question. She simply hung up. Now, sitting inside the bank vault, she understood why he had asked. Her mother had left behind more than a bank account. She had left behind a warning. Olivia opened the second envelope. The letter explained that when Olivia was 5 years old, her mother had inherited an old property from her own father. It was a small farmhouse outside town. At the time, Olivia's mother had planned to sell it. But before she could, she discovered something hidden inside the property records. A second document. It showed that Olivia's grandfather had secretly placed ownership of part of the land in Olivia's name. Not her mother's, Olivia's. The reason was simple. Her grandfather had discovered that his son, Richard, had been secretly borrowing money against the family property. He feared Richard would eventually lose everything, so he protected a portion of the inheritance by placing it in trust for Olivia. But Richard found out, and that was when the threats began. Olivia's mother wrote that Richard demanded she sign the property back over to him. She refused. Then someone broke into their house. Nothing valuable was taken, except the documents. Her mother realized immediately what Richard was looking for. The trust papers. She moved Olivia away for several months. She changed addresses. She stopped talking about the property, and she created the bank account. The small deposits weren't about saving money. They were a way of keeping a legal record connected to Olivia. Every few months, her mother deposited money and then withdrew most of it. She was creating a financial trail, proof that she had been maintaining the account for Olivia. But there was still one question. Where were the original trust documents? Olivia opened another envelope. The answer was written inside. Your grandfather didn't trust banks. He trusted one place, the old house. Olivia's heart raced. The house. The same house Richard had asked about that morning. She immediately called Daniel. Can you help me? Daniel nodded. Her mother had left instructions allowing Olivia to access the box, but there was something else inside. A small folded map. It showed the layout of the farmhouse. One room was circled. The basement. Olivia drove there that afternoon. The house looked exactly as she remembered it. Old. Quiet. Almost forgotten. She entered through the front door. For a moment, childhood memories came rushing back. Her mother used to cook in the kitchen. Her grandfather used to sit beside the fireplace. And Richard had always been there too. Olivia walked downstairs. The basement smelled of dust and damp wood. She compared the map with the room. Then she noticed something strange. One wall was newer than the others. The bricks were slightly different. Olivia touched them. One moved. Behind it was a narrow metal box. She pulled it free. Inside was a folder wrapped in plastic. Her grandfather's original trust documents. Olivia almost cried. But beneath the documents was something else. A photograph. It showed her grandfather standing with 3 people. Her mother, Richard, and a lawyer Olivia didn't recognize. On the back of the photograph was a date. The day before her grandfather died. Olivia turned the photograph over. There was another handwritten sentence. Richard thinks the property is worth millions. He is wrong. Olivia stared at the words. If the property wasn't worth millions, why had Richard fought so hard for it? She opened the final document. And that's when she discovered the real secret. Her grandfather hadn't placed the property in trust because of its land value. He had discovered something underneath it, something much more valuable. Mineral rights. Years earlier, a survey had found a valuable natural resource beneath part of the property. The company that discovered it had offered the family a large amount of money. Her grandfather refused. He believed the land should remain in the family. But Richard had secretly contacted the company. He wanted to sell his share. When their grandfather discovered what Richard had done, he removed him from the inheritance. Then he placed the protected portion in Olivia's name. Olivia suddenly heard a sound upstairs. A door closing. She froze. Someone was inside the house. She quietly put the documents back into the folder. Footsteps moved across the floor above her. Then a voice called out, "Olivia?" "Richard." She grabbed the folder. Her heart was pounding. "Olivia, I know you're here." She looked toward the basement stairs. Richard appeared at the top. His expression wasn't angry. It was calm, almost too calm. "You found it," he said. Olivia didn't respond. Richard slowly walked down. "You don't understand what you've found. I understand enough." Richard sighed. "Your mother lied to you." Olivia's eyes filled with anger. "She spent 26 years protecting me. She spent 26 years keeping you from the truth." "What truth?" Richard looked at the folder. "Your grandfather never wanted you to have that property." Olivia knew he was lying, because she was holding the document that proved otherwise. Richard took another step. "Give me the folder." "No." For the first time, his calm expression disappeared. "You don't know what you're doing." Olivia held the documents tighter. "Then tell me." Richard stared at her, and after a long silence, he finally said the one thing Olivia never expected. "Your mother wasn't protecting you from me." Olivia froze. "She was protecting you from what your grandfather did." Olivia stared at Richard. "What did my grandfather do?" Richard looked exhausted. For the first time, he didn't seem like the arrogant uncle who had laughed at her $7 inheritance. He looked like someone who had been carrying a secret for decades. "Your grandfather discovered the resource beneath the land," Richard said. "I know." "No." Richard shook his head. "You don't know everything." He pointed toward the folder. "That survey was never supposed to exist." Olivia frowned. Richard explained that the original discovery had been made by a small exploration company. The company had offered her grandfather a fortune for the mineral rights. But there was a problem. The company wanted the land developed immediately. That meant destroying part of the surrounding property. Her grandfather refused. He wanted to preserve the land. But Richard had already made a private deal. He believed the money could save the family. His grandfather disagreed. They fought. And the night before his death, Richard tried to take the documents. Olivia's mother caught him. That's why the family had fallen apart. That's why Olivia's mother had suddenly taken her away. That's why she had spent years keeping Olivia away from Richard. But there was still something Olivia didn't understand. "If you wanted the documents so badly," she asked, "why didn't you take them when my mother was alive?" Richard looked down. "Because she had already hidden them." "Where?" Richard didn't answer. Olivia suddenly realized. "The bank." Richard nodded. "The bank was never about the $7. Olivia looked at the brass key in her hand. "It was about keeping the documents safe." "Yes. And my mother knew you would come looking." Richard lowered his eyes. "She knew everything." For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then Olivia asked the question she had been afraid to ask for years. "Did my mother really abandon me?" Richard shook his head. "No." "Then why did she let me believe it?" "Because she thought hatred was safer than the truth." Olivia felt tears running down her face. Her mother had allowed her own daughter to hate her, so Olivia could grow up without knowing what she was protecting. Richard took a slow breath. "Your mother wanted you to have a normal life, but she died alone." Richard's voice became quiet. "She wasn't alone." He reached into his coat and pulled out a small envelope. "I was supposed to give you this if you ever found the documents." Olivia stared at it. Her mother's handwriting was on the front. She opened it. "Dear Olivia, if you are reading this, then you finally know the truth. I am sorry. Not because I left you, because I made you believe I wanted to. I wanted you to grow up free from this family's secrets. Your grandfather believed wealth could protect a family. He was wrong. The only thing that can truly protect a family is trust. I couldn't give you the truth when you were young, but I always believed that one day you would be strong enough to carry it. And there was one final page. Olivia read it twice. Then she began crying. Her mother had not left her a fortune. She had left her the choice. The mineral rights could make Olivia extremely wealthy. But her mother had written one final request. Don't sell the land simply because it is valuable. Remember what your grandfather wanted. Protect it. Olivia looked at Richard. Did he ever apologize? Richard was silent. Then he nodded. Not to me. Who did he apologize to? Richard looked at the photograph. Your mother. Olivia closed her eyes. Suddenly, 26 years of unanswered questions made sense. The distance, the secrecy, the old bank account, the letters, the house. Her mother had been preparing for this moment her entire life. The next morning, Olivia met with an attorney. She confirmed the trust was still legally valid. The property belonged to her, but she made a decision nobody expected. She refused the company's offer. Instead, she created a small foundation using part of the property's value. The farmhouse was restored. The surrounding land was protected, and the old house became a community center where local families could use the property for free. Olivia kept one thing for herself: the bank account. She never closed it. The balance remained exactly $7.43. Years later, when someone asked her why she kept an account with almost no money in it, Olivia smiled. Because it was the most valuable inheritance my mother ever gave me. They always thought the $7 were the inheritance. They weren't. The inheritance was the truth, the sacrifice, and the proof that her mother had loved her enough to let her hate her, if that was what it took to keep her safe. And sometimes, the most valuable thing a parent can leave behind isn't money at all. It's the truth they spent their entire life protecting.